Hello, my name is John Hindmarsh, and today we have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Lilith Yernjakyan as a part of our continuing project celebrating the works of Alan Hovhaness. In coming months, we will be exploring the life of Alan Hovhaness, who grew up here in Arlington, Massachusetts, and became an internationally known composer honored at Carnegie Hall and the White House. Joining us from her home in Yerevan, Armenia, Dr. Yernjakyan is a musicologist and an expert in Armenian traditional music. She has spent her career exploring Armenian music and its connections to Iranian and Turkish musical traditions. Her research on Armenian sacred music, Ashug art, and the works of Komitas Archimandrite has earned her widespread acclaim. We're particularly excited to discuss her latest book, The Musical World of Alan Hovhaness, East-West Crossroads, which explores how Hovhaness combined Eastern and Western musical influences. Can you share with us how your upbringing in Armenia influenced your passion for music?
I grew up in a family of university professors. My father used to teach Persian literature, and my mother taught Arabic language and literature. So there were Orientalists and philologists, and appreciated very much music, art, literature. And among my parents' friends, they were intellectuals, university intellectuals, so-called Armenian intelligentsia, representatives of Armenian intelligentsia. So Armenian composers, etc. All that atmosphere and values I became familiar with from my childhood, of course, influenced and played an important role in my future scientific career. So my passion for music, for Eastern music and culture started in 20th century, reached 21st century, and still I can't get rid of that passion, for which I am very happy. So, and my education, I have absolute hearing, and I like to play piano since my childhood. So my parents sent me to Tchaikovsky Specialized School, where I studied 12 years studying piano and music theory, musicology. I graduated with 2 diplomas with honor, entered Yerevan State Conservatory, more 5 years of studies. And the last year was decisive. I decided to graduate from conservatory with a degree in musicology. So that was the history of my education, my passion for music and Oriental music. After that, so if the next question, or I can continue.
Right.
My professor was a renowned musicologist, well recognized in Komitas. So it was him who suggested that I pick up the music of Alan Hovhaness. So on the one hand, it was my professional education under the broad guidance of my mentor, and on the other hand, the family traditions. And the topic was closely related to the Eastern culture and music, which I admired. So these two factors played a decisive role in my further specialization in Oriental musicology. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? I'm speaking.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, you can hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Can you tell the viewers about your first encounter with the works of Alan Hovhaness?
My first encounter. So when my professor offered me to take this topic on Alan Hovhaness, I have to say that in 1965, Alan Hovhaness visited Armenia and Georgia, and where he donated his archives to our museum, Charin's Museum of Literature, almost 150 documents, items. So it was enough to start my investigation. So on the basis of that materials, yeah, I started to write my master's thesis. That was my first encounter with the music of Alan Hovhaness. So his archive, his recordings, other materials are kept in Stanford University, Boston University, or other United States universities. But also we have here in Yerevan, as well as in Moscow, yeah, his some materials, recordings. tapes and all necessary information to investigate his music. So my master's thesis was dedicated to the works of Alan Hovhaness. And at that time, there was no other publication, book or monographic work dedicated to his music. So that was the first one because later on I got acquainted that at the same time, American researcher Rosner did in 72 or 3, he wrote his dissertation on that topic too. But on that time, I was not aware of that. So parallelly, we started to investigate the music of Alan Hovhaness. After the first encounter, I decided so his musical legacy, artistic legacy is so immense, huge that you can't embrace all his composition in one work. So later on, I decided to give another tribute to artistic legacy and decided to write another book with new materials, new information. I published my book in 2015 in Armenian. And last year, Cambridge Scholars Publishing released an updated version of that book, which incorporates newly discovered materials such as correspondence between Alan Hovhaness and another great Armenian American, William Saroyan, writer William Saroyan. So their correspondence is very interesting, intriguing, and I decided to include that in my monographic work too. These are so periodically I'm turning to the musical output or of the Alan Hovhaness and trying to embrace more materials, to present more materials, more music with no with new materials, with new insights. So these are my encounters with Alan Hovhaness's music. Still in process. Maybe in the future I can continue my investigation, exploring new, unknown pieces, unknown music, or less known published materials.
What aspects of Hovhaness's music do you find most intriguing?
Aspects of Hovhaness's music is so exotic and at the same time interesting with all Eastern cultures, Far East, Middle, Near East, Caucasus, India. So a whole range of Eastern music we can find in compositions of Hovhaness. So this diversity, immense diversity of different Oriental cultures is very intriguing. On the other hand, another point that I would like to emphasize is the revelation of his Armenianness, of his Armenian identity in different Eastern works, specifically in Armenian and Indian works. So we can hear in Madras Sonata or Arjuna Symphony by Alan Hovhaness, and we can hear Armenian intonation. So that mixture, amalgamation of different Eastern cultures, and especially the presence of Armenian music in different Oriental or Eastern cultures, Eastern works of Alan Hovhaness, seems to me very intriguing, interesting, and unique. Unique. Somehow it's unique because in other Western composers, John Cage, for example, Stockhausen, French composer Messiaen, in their works they used Oriental scenes, motifs, or birds singing, or the concepts of philosophy, Zen philosophy, other religions, different religions, Buddhism, etc. But in the heritage, musical heritage of Alan Hovhaness, we can find almost everything which is connected with Eastern culture, with Eastern mysticism, with Eastern poetry, philosophy, interpretation of his music theory, putting accent on melody as one of the most representative element of the music. He was afraid that the new technologies can destroy the melody, so he was trying to keep melody in its archaic form. So all these are very intriguing and interesting topics for researchers.
Yeah, there was a comment from American composer Lou Harrison called Alan Hovhaness one of the greatest composer melodists of the 20th century. Just I thought that
Exactly.
word melodist is very interesting. What do you think makes someone a great melodist? Or can you tell our viewers a little bit more about what that might mean, a melodist?
That means that he didn't reject the melody in his works. Most avant-garde composers using new technologies, serial music, trance music, for example, 12-tone system, they're ignoring the melody. Yeah, melody doesn't play any role in their compositions. But Alan Hovhaness is trying to keep melody, the essence of ancient melodies, without any unnecessary elements, playing giant melodic lines, and which can be associated with his mountains compositions, a lot of compositions were dedicated to mountains. We know Cold Mountain, Mysterious Mountain, Mountain Ararat, Hawaiian Mountains, Japanese Mountains, a lot of mountains. So the nature, his philosophy, his spiritual essence, and all of that were embodied in his large, giant melodic structures. In this sense, is just different, very modern, because when you got the absolutization of one specific element of music now is very, very common for contemporary composers. It's one of the hallmarks of 20th or 21st century composers' art. So he preferred melody, not rhythm, not rhythmic structures, not polyphonic structures. He also used his compositions Western polyphonic structures, and it is also intriguing how he's combining, and the synthesis of Western and Eastern elements, principles. For example, in Indian works, the upper layer of his scores represent the melodic lines, and the percussion instruments playing Indian rhythm. It's very interesting way of thinking, combining different cultures, Eastern cultures. So he's one of the great melodists of contemporary musical art, really. We can find melody in John Cage's music, in Arnold Schoenberg's compositions, or other famous leading composers of contemporary art. In that sense, he's unique with his perceptions, with his philosophical approaches to the melody, specifically ancient melody, ancient archaic melodic structures, basic intervals, archaic structures, and in this sense, he can be considered as a neo-archaic, neo-primitivist composer also. He's using, of course, classical Western forms, and polyphonic structures in his music also can be associated with, for example, neoclassical tendencies in the compositions of contemporary composers. So we can relate his music to neoclassicism, to neo-archaism, to neo-folklorism, to a lot of neo-isms. Still, it's Alan Hovhaness with its individual perception of music, of nature, philosophy. So one of his compositions, for example, that God created great whales, he uses the songs of whales, like Messiaen used to birds singing songs in his compositions. So this is closely related to soundscape, the concept of soundscape when you are using the environmental sounds of nature. So
Lilith,
this connects with different trends in modern music. Yeah.
Lilith, can you explain to our viewers how Hovhaness incorporated whale songs into a symphony of his?
Nobody knows how they put that giant aquarium into the recording studio. Yeah, nobody knows. It's a mystery. I can say that it's a mystery. Or they maybe encode it next to ocean, or in the shore of the ocean. But it's not clear how they did it, the mechanism of recording of whale songs or
Yes,
sounds.
I heard of recording of this piece, and I've
Yes.
listened to some other pieces. In your book,
Yes.
it's stated that his music is meant, or he felt his music was meant for everybody. it could be listened to by anyone and not snobs, not just
Not
snobs.
snobs, yeah.
You know, and I do feel that clarity of melody. There's maybe a simpleness, but something that you can connect to
Yes.
right away. And
Right,
I agree.
right. Yeah, that statement, yeah, scientific difference, yeah. Documents he want to create, yeah, music, not for snobs, yeah, not for snobs. Maybe that was the reason for his alienation from other Western composers. He used to be in very close relations with John Cage, Tom Alden, but later on they became, well, their relationship was interrupted. Yeah. Maybe I can tell some details, but it's not so important why. The fact is that he was alienated from the mainstream of other composers. Yeah, his philosophy of music, with his way of creation, his composition. Yeah, it was in contrast. Yeah, with the other composers' notions or their approaches to the music art, modern music, or postmodern, even postmodern, yeah, tendencies.
How do you think Hovhaness's Armenian heritage influenced his compositional style?
Of course, one has profoundly studied Armenian music, compositions of Komitas Archimandrit, the founder of Armenian National School of Music, and he adapted his creative methods of processing Armenian songs and medieval melodies. For example, in his Armenian rhapsodies, he's following just the principles of Komitas' arrangements. Also, the imitation of folk instruments, which used to, in his compositions, Komitas Archimandrit. In this sense, also, he can be considered as a Komitas Varkatet. He didn't approve simple quotations. He was trying to create his own melodies in the folk style, But with some exceptions, in his Armenian rhapsodies, he used very nice medieval melody from 13th century, is trembling. So with few exceptions, yeah, he was against the plain quotations, yeah. But we can find many other forms of using folk music in his compositions. Those can be allusions, imitations, or just another melody using characteristic elements of national music, be it religious music, folk music, or bard music. He was equally interested in different branches of Armenian monodic music because we can find different samples of Armenian monophonic music in his compositions. Church music, religious music, folk dances, folk melodies, shuk, bark music, Armenian music also.
Can you explain to our viewers what monophonic music is?
Monophonic, one, it's not polyphonic.
Like
not
when everybody
polyvoiced.
sings the national anthem
Not
together.
fully voiced music, but one mono voiced music. We
Yes.
haven't in our tradition. All Eastern traditions actually are monophonic cultures. Yeah. So we haven't that harmony used in later on when the school of composers, Armenian school of composers in 19th century, different school of composers, national school of composers were organized. They started to use to create in European genres symphony, sonata, or different romances, vocal, orchestral, chamber music. But before the music culture of many Eastern nations is monophonic, one sound, one mono sound music without accompaniment. It doesn't mean that no for developing its inner possibilities. For example, dumb, organic pedal. In Armenian music, we have a pedal. So one voice or one duduk folk instrument or hobo-like instruments, yeah, can keep that tone dominanta or subdominanta, and the other thing extending the melodic line. So there are few characteristics or few principles to create polyphony too, three or two voice music structure, but still it's not European polyphony in the classical sense, of European, yeah. So Eastern cultures, monophonic, one sound, and folk music, very rich in its genre, thematic diversity in Armenia, for example. All range of genres, dance music, folk music, lullabies, or I don't know, ritual music, very, very developed, yeah, system. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a musicologist, what challenges did you face while researching Hovhaness's life and works?
What kind of challenges? If I'm not mistaken, I
Did you
already
did you face
answered.
challenges as a musicologist finding out about his life, studying his works? Were there any
No,
challenges?
no, no technical, no
Okay.
other kind of challenges. And I've been fortunate enough to have that opportunity to study at the United States universities,
Hmm.
where I could get every needed material, yeah, recording of Alan Hovhaness, yeah, so all the available materials during those times. Half of the year, I used to live in the United States, so I was working at United States universities. Perfect condition, perfect system of university. So any challenges in that sense, I didn't, or to overcome any barriers in order to investigate or to get new materials. No, I didn't have that kind of challenges. The only challenge was to present the Alan Hovhaness's unusual, extraordinary personality, his music, to wider audience, to wider circles of readers. So that was the only professional challenge. Yeah.
Hmm. Can you share some of the most surprising findings from your research?
Surprising findings. The first one was his pilgrimage of Western composer in Eastern countries, Eastern world. This pilgrimage and the diversity, that was the most amazing thing. Another one was his revelation of his Armenian identity. You know, it wasn't very easy for Alan Hovhaness to overcome that psychological barrier. His mother was a Scottish musician, so he had somehow that complex split or dual identity. But when he decided he turned to the Eastern music, maybe it's a very well known fact that he destroyed almost 500 compositions 500 compositions destroyed in order to emphasize the importance of sacrifice. He sacrificed his past creations of previous period in order to start his new journey in Eastern countries, or I don't know how to formulate it. It is also a unique fact. Well, composers used to destroy one composition or combine different parts of their compositions. Charles Ives used to do the same. They have changing the chronology of their compositions. A lot of manipulations, yeah, they can do it, but destroy 500 compositions, it's too much, but he did it. And his mystic nature or spiritual nature, yeah, maybe told him to destroy and to in order to feel the new him or new Alan Hovhaness, yeah, new Alan Hovhaness, new approaches with new values, with new cultural values, maybe compositional principles and cultural orientations. So there are a lot of amazing, interesting things findings. In my last book, I told you that I included the correspondence. It was a finding too, because I published part of those letters. First, they were published in my book. Nobody knows. I got it from Stanford University because in biography of Alan Hovhaness, there is a letter where he to address to William Saroyan, where he's speaking about his feelings after the concert, after the performance of his first symphony, Exile, dedicated to Armenian genocide. So Copland and Bernstein were present during that performance and they started to talk loudly. And then one of them told that it's a ghetto music. He was very affected, and he shared his feelings with in that letter with William Sarian. So I decided that they were so close that he is talking his most intimate feelings, sharing with William Sarian. So they might be other letters too addressed to William Sarian. That well, and I found it in Stanford University Archival Library archives, and I am very grateful to Stanford University for that. They lended me those letters, and I published. It's very interesting. Those are in their letters. First of all, collaboration. They created so many compositions, musicals, Alan Hovhaness and William Sarian, songs, musical drama, small operatic works, but the musicals are just amazing, where they are expressing the feelings of Western Armenian feelings in with irony or with sorrow. But those are very unique, interesting musicals. One of their songs, "Come On to My House," is very popular. Ella Fitzgerald used to sing that song, and Madonna later. So the time period is very long. So that was in America was very popular. That song, "Come on, a baby, in my house." Or "Come on, my house. I can offer you this one or that." Fruits, Armenian food, lavash. It's about Armenians, newcomers, immigrant Armenians. So that was one of my findings, amazing findings, and I included in this book, Cambridge, which released Cambridge Scholars Publishing.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
if composer has more than 700 compositions, you always can find something new, interesting, intriguing. So you can't embrace, I can't embrace, or anyone, any researcher can't embrace the unfathomable, yeah, unfathomable. So step by step, maybe, yeah, we'll go exploring more works of Alan Hovhaness, less known or unpublished. That it's one of my goals in the field of musicology. Actually, the East is the main axis, yeah, from the axis of my different works, be it Armenian-Turkish musical relationships, musical Armenian-Iranian or Bard music, always Eastern culture is extant in my works. What else I can
Yeah.
say?
As a teacher, how do you integrate your research findings into your teaching?
Into teaching. Alan Hovhaness, well, I'm teaching a special course for PhD students. So talking on different Eastern cultures, traditions, of course, I have to present Alan Hovhaness's work. So during 3 or 5 hours lectures, I'm presenting his works, Japanese, Korean, Armenian, and Indian, trying to embrace this Eastern circle of his Eastern branch of his compositions. Alan Hovhaness's music included in the courses of Yerevan State University teaching programs, also in the special course dedicated to diasporic Armenian musicians. We have a course dedicated to diasporic, we have a lot of diasporic performers, composers, so he's included. And in different faculties, particularly in piano department, students used to play his compositions. For example, Later Van, Sonata Later Van, Ahtamar, Musatzak, which is very interesting composition with aleatoric improvisational elements and melodic lines, combining these two different spheres in his music. So trying to present more and more and perform students, our students, trying to perform his music. I can't say that it is included in their curriculum, which is required. Yeah, pieces for performance, but we're planning to do that. To include some of his compositions and also his vocal music. So this is our. What was the question?
Oh, just
Well,
about teaching and
yeah, about teaching, about teaching.
I wanted to ask,
Generally PhD students, yeah.
are there many works that have not yet been recorded? And are you working towards
Yes,
recording works?
yes.
Yes.
Of Alan Hovhaness, yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find, for example, Artsakh Symphony, number 65. On his 80th anniversary in Carnegie Hall, he was conducting his own symphony, but we haven't the score of that symphony, so I'm trying to find it because we can perform it here in Yerevan. And a lot of other compositions which had not been recorded and or even not published, the scores of his compositions. So still we have much work. There is much work to be done in this area.
It would be nice to see the Boston Symphony Orchestra do a program with Alan Hovhaness music.
Yeah, yes, sure,
Yeah.
sure. It will be very nice.
What could we do to inspire that or to bring awareness? Yeah. Well,
Yeah, depends on the conductor, depends on if he will be positive toward the music of Alan Hovhaness. He can include his symphony, one of his symphonies, in the repertoire for his concerts. That will be great, just great. Yeah.
So what future research projects are you planning to undertake related to Hovhaness or Armenian music?
Well, I'm planning to investigate his vocal music, particularly his Iranian and Armenian songs. He has songs written on the text of Armenian poets and Iranian poets, Hafiz, Yernjakyan, Charent. So it's very interesting for me, another interesting topic for me, to compare those songs to see what is the difference processing those material songs. Are they based on folk music or just Hovhaness's imagination, interpretation of Iranian or Armenian poetic texts? So I'm planning to do that. I'm planning also to write about his opera drama, Burning House. It's a unique composition with different stylistic, technological, novelties. And the language and the text are very distinct. So I'm trying it's based on mythological themes. Vahagan, the god of fire, which is extant in Indian and Armenian traditions. But the music is not very, I have no idea, just fragments, small fragments. I heard, so I am very interested in that composition. And in the culmination, I have the score of that, the fragments of the score of this opera drama in the final stage of that composition. He included Armenian song Swallow, very popular Armenian song. So it's very interesting, but I can tell you more about this drama, opera drama. So I'm working parallelly on Armenian Turkish, Armenian Persian musical ties, Armenian medieval religious monodies, comparing with classical Iranian melodies, because the basic model system, more or less the same, but the embodiment of the modes are different depending on the cultural traditions, depending on the intonational atmosphere of your folk national domain in which existing those songs or music melodies. So a lot of interesting projects. We'll see. Hopefully, I can accomplish some of them, if not all of them, all of my projects. Yeah, we'll see.
One or two more questions.
Oh,
How do you see the field of musicology evolving in the next decade, like concerning the study of composers like Hovhaness?
oh, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. Yeah, to predict what will be in the future musicology. It's unpredictable. Just ethnomusicology. And now where they are trying to mix ethnomusicology with historical musicology, with theoretical means, using theoretical means theory too. So I can't predict. It's too difficult. What can I say about Alan Hovhaness is I imagine that the music of Alan Hovhaness and all those spiritual composers or that branch of spiritual composers, Cancelli, they will be more and more desirable and intriguing given the reality of modern technology and computers or digitally oriented society, maybe somehow can the balance between technologies and the music, between emotions and the technologies. So let's hope, as formulated, he wanted to belong to all centuries, all time, and the only thing an artist can do is rise above his time and be in the future. So what will be in the future, it's hard to predict right now.
Let's try to fix the camera. Okay. Head and shoulders again. Do you mind fixing the camera? We can edit this out. Just head and shoulders again. Just bring it down a little bit. Does that make sense? Yes. Great, great.
This better?
Yes, yes.
No.
I'll just leave it, yeah. Yeah. Thank you. All right. What questions did we forget to ask you? Are there any questions that we...
No, if I'm not mistaken, I answered to all questions.
What else would you like to say? What else would you like to teach our viewers about what you've learned of Alan Hovhaness?
What can I say? To listen, to go to the concerts, be in touch with artists, with their compositions, enjoy the music, It doesn't matter, it's symphonic, classical music, jazz music, or folk music. Yeah, so the connection with musical world is very important for the education, and it was indispensable part in former Soviet Union. That's what my generation of scientists or biologists, yeah, appreciated musical traditions, generally music literature, very much. So they can find a lot of interesting things, solutions in the music performance. So I'm just happy. And here I used to tell to my students too that if an artist's way of thinking is different, his personality is original, interesting, he has his own world. It's very important to have your own world, the way of communicating with others. So music as a medium can help people get acquainted with the cultural values, which is very important.
Oh yeah, and interestingly, this came out last week in the Boston Globe, just mentioning Tanglewood. There's an article about Tanglewood and Kusevitsky, and wondering if you knew any connection between Alan Hovhaness and Kusevitsky. You could tell our readers, our listeners about, our audience.
Oh, Kusevitsky, he was one of his promoters of his music, right? Kusevitsky. I can't tell much about Kusevitsky, but maybe, yeah. And why last week this article had been published last week? Who is the author, or it's from?
It's just an article about Tanglewood celebrating.
Tanglewood, yes. Where he studied. Alan Hovhaness, went to study, continue his studies, and a lot of positive and negative memories were connected with Tanglewood.
Can you tell our viewers a little bit about that? Is there a story about Alan Hovhaness's experience at Tanglewood?
I touched upon that topic. In Tanglewood, actually, took place that incident with Bernstein and Copland while hearing his composition Exile. So it's very famous place, Tanglewood, for musician, artistic circles, elite, artists used to go to Tanglewood to share their thoughts or discuss their compositions, and I went to Tanglewood too. But this incident, maybe it was connected with his Armenian roots or the tragic pages, one of the tragic pages of Armenian history. It was during the hearing of his symphony Exile. I love that, as I had mentioned. So he he was offended. Maybe that was the main reason for him to study Tanglewood without finishing his study or his program in Tanglewood. More about Tanglewood, but it was for him, I can't find a proper word, psychological trauma, psychological trauma. Trauma after that trauma, he started to revise his musical preferences, his interests towards the music, Western or Eastern. So it played a decisive role. Tanglewood somehow played a decisive role in the future development of his musical preferences, his orientation, musical orientation. More about Tanglewood, I can't tell you because there are no other information, other facts connected with Tanglewood. Tanglewood. I included that in this book, in my book, and you can find it everywhere. Not that incident you can find everywhere, of course. Yeah, it was one of the dark pages of Alan Hovhaness's creative biography.
Thank you.
Well, every artist experienced such kind of traumas or bad experiences, so that's natural.
Maybe that trauma did that trauma lead him to become himself and to go on to do what he continued to do?
Yeah, sure. Played a decisive role, Well, so we'll see how can me continue my investigation Alan Hovhaness's musical heritage because it's huge, immense, and I'm planning to do that. Not right now. I have to finish some works, musicological works, which are started, but later on I am planning to come back to his music. It always will be with me, Alan Hovhaness's music, as the first work dedicated. My master's thesis was dedicated to Alan Hovhaness, so it's my first musicological work, and I like it very much. So we'll continue. Maybe one of my students can continue also in this area. Yeah, they have to like his music to understand his musical world, his perception, connection with nature, with so many things that it's more easy to study a particular genre of folk music, for example, lullabies or what else? Epic songs, lullabies. But if you are folklorist, it is much easier to test your master thesis, for example, in the area of folklore studies. But Alan Hovhaness or any contemporary composer, famous composer of 20th century, they have so many aspects. There are so many aspects to investigate, to go through their heritage. So students have to be interested.
Yes.
So I know that few master's works done by American musicologists, just masters and one dissertation, no more. So
Dr. Yernjakyan.
Really, it's Yernjakyan.
Dr. Yernjakyan. Thank you for sharing your knowledge about Alan Hovhaness and Armenian music. We greatly appreciate your work in preserving and helping us understand these cultural treasures. We're excited to see more of your contributions in the future, and maybe contributions from your students as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to express my gratitude for this interview, for your interest in my scientific work dedicated to Alan Hovhaness. So, and special thanks to you and to Mike Manius, whose collaboration with Azarians gave birth to the idea of starting this project. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Very good. Thank you. Okay.
We're going to do one more
Thank you.
Can you look to take camera?
We're going to do one more
thing where we promote your book. We want to promote your book.
Okay, let's promote your book.
So this book is available everywhere. The book is, we have an image of the book that we're going to share, but you can get it anywhere, like Amazon or anywhere?
Oh, great.
No, Yeah, this is my book.
And how do we
And
get it?
this is me as an author with my photography.
Oh, that's
This
great.
is my book. And yeah, you can get in Amazon, I think so, and in Cambridge Scholars Publishing.
Okay.
Publishing, yeah. Just write on their address, or there is a link where you can, yeah, enter and ask for this book.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm very happy with my book.
Is that good, Jeff?
The other one is in Armenian. Alan Hovhaness is in Armenian.
Okay.
5 years before the English. Yeah, another book dedicated to Alan Hovhaness. This book was published by Institute of Art of Academy of Sciences of Armenia. So Academy of Sciences and my book working in the Academy of Sciences in the Institute of, as well as in the conservatory on us.
And viewers can find both of those at Amazon or somewhere?
At Amazon, maybe an English version,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure about Armenian one.
We want to thank our guest today, Lilith Yernjakyan, and show her book, The Musical World of Alan Hovhaness, East-West Crossroads, available wherever you can find books.